On April 15, 1947, the world of baseball, and indeed the entire United States, shifted forever. A man named Jackie Robinson stepped onto the field wearing the Brooklyn Dodgers uniform, becoming the first African-American player to break Major League Baseball's rigid color barrier. His presence alone on that diamond was both a triumph and a declaration, a bold move in a nation still haunted by segregation, prejudice, and the scars of systemic racism. But beneath the roar of the crowd, beneath the headlines celebrating history, a lingering question has followed his legacy for decades. Was Jackie Robinson chosen purely because of his extraordinary talent, or was he carefully placed into history as part of a larger social and political calculation? To his fans, Robinson was a hero who stood tall in the face of hatred and violence. To others, he was a symbol engineered by business and political motives, an instrument of change rather than the sole author of his destiny. The truth lies in the collision of both perspectives. What unfolds is not only the story of one man's courage, but also the complex web of ambition, profit, power, and progress that defined mid-century America. Jackie Robinson's story begins long before the cheering crowds, long before the Brooklyn Dodgers called his name. Born in 1919 in Cairo, Georgia, he entered a world where the laws of segregation dictated every move of his family's life. His father left the family when Jackie was still an infant, forcing his mother, Mally Robinson, to raise 5 children alone. They moved to Pasadena, California, in search of a better life, but even in California, racism was never far away. Young Jackie grew up watching his mother struggle, learning early that survival required not just strength, but resilience, and that dignity often had to be defended with silence and control, rather than rage. Sports became his outlet, the stage where he could push back against a world that constantly sought to box him in. At UCLA, Robinson became a 4-sport athlete, excelling in football, basketball, track, and of course, baseball. Few could deny his sheer athletic talent. He ran with the speed of a sprinter, hit with precision, and played with an intelligence that outmaneuvered opponents. Yet even with accolades piling up, doors remained closed. No matter how gifted he was, the major leagues were still closed to black athletes. For generations, African-American players were confined to the Negro leagues, where talent was abundant, but opportunity was capped. The turning point came not just from Robinson's gifts, but from the man who recognized the moment and its potential, Branch Rickey, general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers. Rickey was a businessman, a strategist, and a man with a keen eye for opportunity. On the surface, his decision to bring Robinson into Major League Baseball looked like a bold stand against racial injustice, and to some degree it was. Rickey often described his desire to strike a blow against segregation, but his motivations ran deeper and more complex. He knew the Dodgers would gain not just a skilled player, but also the loyalty of an entirely new fan base. Millions of black fans who had supported the Negro Leagues could now rally behind the Dodgers, bringing their money, their energy, and their devotion into Major League Baseball. But for Rickey, the player he chose could not simply be talented. He had to be the perfect symbol. He needed someone who could withstand the relentless hatred that would come, someone who would not lash out when insulted, spat on, or threatened. For Rickey, this was not just about ability, it was about temperament. Jackie Robinson fit that mold. When Rickey famously tested him in an interview, bombarding him with slurs, insults, and provocation, Robinson held steady. His ability to endure without retaliation convinced Rickey that he was the right man for the role. In many ways, Robinson was selected not just for his bat or his glove, but for his character. The backlash came swiftly. Teammates threatened to strike rather than play with him. Opponents hurled slurs from dugouts. Fans sent death threats to his family. Robinson's wife Rachel stood by him, sharing the burden of isolation and fear. She became his partner in resilience, a silent force behind the man on the field. Every time Jackie took the field, he carried not only the weight of his own career, but also the aspirations of millions who saw in him the possibility of equality. Yet here lies the core tension. Was Jackie Robinson simply a man brave enough to take on this battle, or was he placed there as a piece in a much larger chess game of American politics? The timing of his debut was not accidental. America, fresh from victory in World War II, was positioning itself as the global champion of democracy. But how could the United States preach freedom abroad while denying it at home? The Cold War was beginning, and the Soviet Union pointed often to America's racial hypocrisy. Integrating baseball was not just a moral statement, it was a political maneuver to polish America's image on the world stage. Robinson's career unfolded against this backdrop. Each stolen base, each clutch hit, each dazzling play at second base was not just a statistic, but a statement. He won Rookie of the Year in 1947, helped lead the Dodgers to a National League pennant, and was named National League MVP in 1949. These accomplishments silenced many critics but did not end the hatred. If anything, they intensified it, because Robinson was proving what many white Americans had long denied, that black athletes were not only equal, but capable of excelling at the highest levels. The Negro Leagues began to decline as fans flocked to see Robinson and other black players who followed his trail. Satchel Paige, Larry Doby, Willie Mays, and Hank Aaron would soon grace the big leagues, but Jackie remained the symbol, the first to endure the storm. For him, the struggle was never just about baseball, it was about dignity. When Robinson walked into segregated hotels that barred his entry, or when restaurants refused to serve him, he was reminded daily that success on the field could not erase the reality of racism off it. Yet Robinson also leveraged his platform to speak out. Unlike the silent image Rickey initially demanded, Robinson grew into a voice of the civil rights movement. He supported Martin Luther King Jr., spoke at rallies, and wrote candidly about the discrimination he endured. This transformation complicated his image. To many black Americans, he became a beacon of courage. To others, particularly those in positions of power, he became a troublesome figure, too outspoken, too unwilling to stay in the role of silent hero. What is striking is how Robinson's role mirrored the broader civil rights movement. Like Rosa Parks, whose refusal to give up her bus seat became a calculated act of resistance, Robinson's debut was at once a personal triumph and a strategic decision engineered by others. But unlike a pawn that moves without choice, Robinson exerted agency. He took the stage offered to him and expanded it into something larger, something no one could fully control. Still, the question lingers. Was his story written by his own hand, or was he the beneficiary or victim of political necessity? The answer is both. Without Robinson's talent and resilience, no amount of calculation could have succeeded. Without Rickey's timing and America's political climate, Robinson might have remained confined to the Negro Leagues, a star unknown to the larger world. It was the convergence of individual greatness and historical necessity that made him legendary. As the years passed, Robinson's legacy continued to spark debate. Each April 15th, Major League Baseball celebrates Jackie Robinson Day, with every player wearing the number 42 in his honor. But the ceremony often glosses over the complexities of his journey. The heroism is easy to celebrate. The political manipulation is harder to confront, and yet, understanding both is essential to grasping the full truth of Jackie Robinson's impact. Robinson himself never denied the duality. He acknowledged Rickey's role, he recognized the broader forces at play, but he also demanded to be seen as a man, not just a symbol. He reminded America that behind the jersey was a human being, struggling, enduring, fighting for respect. His story teaches that heroes are not born in isolation, they are shaped by context, by necessity, and by the battles they are forced to fight. The tragedy of Robinson's life is that, even after breaking baseball's color barrier, he never escaped the pain of racism. He died young, at just 53, his body worn down by diabetes and the stress of years under immense pressure. At his funeral, the nation mourned, but few could fully grasp the depth of his sacrifices. He left behind a legacy that transcends sport, but also a reminder of the cost of being chosen as both hero and pawn. Jackie Robinson's journey is not just a chapter in baseball history. It is a mirror held up to America itself. It shows the capacity of individuals to rise above hatred, but also the ways institutions can co-opt personal triumphs for their own ends. It is a story of courage and calculation, of resilience and exploitation, of a man who became more than he ever intended and less than he fully deserved. Even today, as debates about race, justice, and equality continue, Robinson's story feels urgent. It challenges us to see beyond the headlines, to recognize the complexity of progress, and to ask difficult questions about who benefits from change and who bears the cost. In this sense, Jackie Robinson was both hero and pawn, but perhaps most importantly, he was a man, flawed, strong, enduring, who forced America to reckon with itself in ways it could no longer ignore. Jackie Robinson's life was not a simple tale of victory. It was a collision of forces, a gifted athlete with unmatched determination, a businessman with vision and calculation, and a nation wrestling with its conscience. His presence on the diamond shattered illusions of racial inferiority, yet it also revealed the calculated moves of institutions eager to shape history for their own benefit. Robinson was chosen, yes, but he also chose. He chose to carry the burden, to endure the torment, and to transform an opportunity into a revolution. That duality is what makes him enduringly powerful. He was not just a baseball player, not just a symbol, but a human being who navigated the impossible demands of both. Today, as his number 42 is retired across Major League Baseball, we remember not only the triumphs, but also the costs. We honor the courage it took to stand on that field, knowing every eye, friendly or hostile, was upon him. Jackie Robinson teaches us that progress is never pure, never without compromise, but it is real, and it is worth fighting for. His story forces us to ask, in the games we play with history, who truly wins, and who is sacrificed along the way.